this is Shel from Paper Rock TO Studio, bringing you another NaNoJouMo page. It's almost over, this challenge. I'll be sad to see it go. Today's prompt that I picked with my friends is shapes, and I have a favorite shape. It's actually circles. I love circles. So this whole page is about circles. The first thing I'm doing here, I picked my print from my handmade Gelli Print journal. It's basically the same one as yesterday, because when you make a signature in a journal, you fold the paper in half, and then half of the print will be in one place and the other half will be in another place. So this is basically the same one as yesterday, and it comes out completely different. So I did dull down that background, but I still wanted to save some of it. So I decided to try a resist, and I had this new bubbly looking stencil that I got the other day from Tuesday Morning. And so I used some 3D gloss gel from Art Basics Prima, and I put that on there because it will cover the background and keep it safe while I change the next layer. I hope that makes sense. It didn't actually make that much difference in the total project, but it was a good idea at the time. So I set that aside to dry, and now I'm going to make some circles with my different various punches. I figured out right away that deli paper won't punch with my punches. They're not that sharp because they've been used for years for punching cardstock mostly. So I have a bit of trouble with them, but I've got several different sizes of circles, and of course you see I've got my plastic containers of different colors of papers, the same ones I used yesterday on my purple. And then now I've got the bucket of blues, and I'm doing the same thing, all different types of paper, all different types of ways that it was colored. That one's scrapbook paper. And I'm just punching out different size circles from them because I'm going to be using these. I had so much fun sticking down stuff yesterday on my page that I wanted to do it again. So I got out my buckets of scraps again. I like the insides of those safety envelopes. They have cool patterns if you're going to do blue. Now this one is my teal. That first one I punched is a gorgeous Gelli print. I love it. I have all kinds of just random stuff in there. That one was cool. It has a print from a plastic canvas circle. Remember we used to thread the yarn on the plastic canvas to make different stuff? It's a circle, and it makes a really cool mark when you use it, if you're like cleaning it off with sprays, or if you spray through it, or you use it on your Gelli plate. So I bring my book back. It's mostly dry. You can see now that 3D gloss gel that I put on there has become clear. So it's just basically protecting the background. And so I got out my circle Gelli plate, because if you're going to do a circle page, you got to have your circle Gelli plate, right? I mean, come on. This is the 4-inch, and I'm getting out some different heavy body acrylics, a couple different blues, a white and a teal. I don't want so much purple on the page because I'm making kind of a wintry design. That's my plan. So I'm going to cover up some of the purple. And I've got some stamps from a stamp set from Stampin' Up. Don't know if that's still available or not, but it just has a bunch of different little circles in it. So I got out some baby wipes there. And the reason that I did that is because I want to keep that acrylic paint wet on my stamps. I don't want to have to use a toothbrush to clean it or let it dry on there. It's just a mess. So I just put the stamps down right onto the baby wipe to keep them slightly moist. And I'm using them through the whole process to make circle marks on my circle, because circles on circles on circles with circles. Yeah, that's the plan. And of course I have my 2-inch brayer that I'm using. Right here is nice when you have a Gelli plate, because you can remove it from the block and then press it down into the crease. With a stamp, it's a lot harder to do that. So it's better if your stamps are already not mounted. But pretty much all of mine are mounted. So now I'm cleaning the paint off where the circles of 3D gloss gel are, and you can see the patterns from the original print through the clear. I think it's pretty cool because I'm just making layers. This is what I love. This is the look I love. The layers upon layers upon layers of colors and pattern. This is my thing. So I'm printing up a little bit more. So much fun, jelly printing. Brilliant invention, I think. Wished I was the one who invented it. Of course, as you're using your stamps on the plate like that, you are getting paint on them, and you could use them to stamp. It makes a good little, quote, ink pad. And I actually do that in a second. Just cleaning off those spots again. And then I'm cleaning off the blues off the stamps with my baby wipe. See how easy it just cleans right up when you keep it moist. But if you let it dry, then you got to take it to the sink and you got to use an old toothbrush, scrub it out, and it's really just a pain. So now I'm using my Gelli Plate as an ink pad with my acrylic paint, just the white this time, to stamp some white circles on there, lighten up the background a little bit. Just random. Not thinking about it. Then I don't want to waste that, so I get out a piece of teal cardstock and take the paint off there onto that, and I'll use that for something else. Okay, now I've got all my cool little circles that I punched, and I'm auditioning them on my page just to see what they'll look like. I like it. I think it's pretty awesome. They kind of look like bubbles, but I was going for a winter scene, so they're not bubbles this time. I could have made a dolphin and just had him, you know, in the ocean or whatever. I really like the colors of teal, purple, and blue together. I think that they're very, they make me feel cold. I think they're very pretty together. I think I said that yesterday when I was making the purple page. And that is Liquitex Gloss Medium Varnish that I'm going to use. The reason I use that is because the 3D gloss gel that I used is glossy, obviously, since it's called gloss gel. So I thought it would be weird if I went and used a matte medium when I was gluing all these on, because that would be strange to have gloss in the corners and matte everywhere else. And so I just decided to use my gloss medium to attach all these with my very beat up brush. You always want to set aside a brush or two just for things like gesso and mediums, because it does get very beat up. You don't want to keep ruining your brushes over and over. So I'm placing my circles all over the place. Sometimes I'm going one over the other, and that's because, in most cases, because the little edge where I was trying to get it out of my punch got torn, and so it has kind of a torn edge on one section, but I don't want to waste them, so I just put the torn edge under another one, and then you never know, right? It's all be our little secret. This page took me a total of 1 hour 11 minutes according to my footage, but of course I've speeded it up and trimmed out the heat tool parts and made it so that you guys can stand watching it. That was my fan brush and the gesso that I put on my palette earlier to make splatters, and then I set that aside to dry. And now I'm making some circles. When I was punching my circles, you might have seen me set aside a few pieces of painted deli paper. And these are them. They're in blues. Then there is one purple-ish one there from the purple bucket. And then I'm putting a little bit of watered down gesso on the top just to lighten them up slightly. And I'm just using different things that I have laying around my desk to make the circles. I could try to cut a circle freehand, and I might be able to do it, but it would probably be pretty lopsided. So there's my smallest one. Did you see me just accidentally lay that small one right into my gesso? You'll see what happens with that in a few minutes. I was splattering those, and now I'm drawing with my heat tool. So now I go to pick up that little one, and because it had that gesso on the other side, it's stuck to my underpaper. Dang it! And this isn't dry yet. I was hoping it would be dry by the time I got done with those circles, but it wasn't, so I had to blot it. And then I'm going to attach the purple paper. I'm going to tear it and make like a little horizon line or ground on the bottom of my page. Because it's one of my pet peeves to have things floating. Like things need to have a ground. They need to be sitting on something, not just floating. So when you're creating some type of a scene, be sure to put a horizon line or a ground, because it just looks silly. I'm sorry, it just looks silly not to have it. Now I'm going to put my circles on. I bet you guys are starting to figure out what I'm doing. You might have figured it out by now. Still using that gloss medium from Liquitex. And these are deli paper, but they're not that translucent because of all the paint that's painted onto them, or I put more white paint on the top of them plus splatters. So I didn't want them pure stark white because I don't think that looks realistic, but I didn't I wanted them to have some blue too to make shadows. So that's the reason that I picked the blue deli papers. Now these are little letters that I cut out when I was trying to make a plan for this page. I cut them out with what's that thing called? Oh my gosh. Something that I have from scrapbooking. It's a type of die cutting machine, but it has these little aluminum plates, and you put them between the two things on the end, and then you have to push down and squeeze the handles. I don't know that those are still around because, of course, now we all have the rolling type of die cutters, and that was kind of a pain to have to try to use your strength to squeeze those. But I still have it. I know what it's called. Quick cuts. That's what it's called. Took me a minute. I still have it. I still have mostly what I have with it is letters. So I decided to cut those out of those. That's just a smooth white cardstock. And because the page is curved, I put it crooked. I can't see what I'm doing when there's a curved page, and everything seems to come out crooked, so I need to start using some type of a straight edge to make my words straight if I glue something on. Then I just freehand cut out a little scarf out of a piece of purple deli paper, and then I'm going to cut a little stocking cap. Can you see what it is? It's a snowman! I have holidays on the brain. I'm starting to plan what I need to make for gifts. I make art things for a few of the people, my best friend and people like that, because they appreciate it. I don't make them for people who don't appreciate them. Some people would prefer to have store-bought things, and others would prefer to have handcrafted things. It's just the way it is. Then I trim the edges of the page, of course, doing some more drawing. So did you notice that my animation for when time changes or I cut something out is circles. I thought I was pretty clever there. I hope everyone noticed. Okay, that's blueberry gelato, and I just wanted a darker edge around the edge of my paper. So now I'm going to blend it with the baby wipe. It's a good color, blueberry. Sounds delicious. I want a blueberry smoothie. I don't think I will eat that gelato. Okay. Now the little snowman has to have a face and a little carrot nose. Those are Posca pins, my medium point, and then I give him some little lights in his eyes with my fine point white. And then this one is a artist Pitt pin, and artist Pitt pins have India ink, so they're very permanent when they're dry. They write over pretty much anything. But when you're putting them on a sealed surface like this, because you know I put all that glossy medium all over everything, it's sealed, you can blend them. So I'm just writing a little ways and then blending with my finger and then writing a little ways and blending with my finger. And this one is dark indigo is the color. I didn't want a stark black, I wanted a blue, but a very dark one. So going around everything and adding little shadows to make everything stand out. I could have used my Stabilo, but I chose Pitt pins today. Then I've got my white fine tip Posca, and I'm adding highlights. And I do go in and add a few highlights on the scarf and the hat with that white pin later that I didn't film, so you'll see it in the picture. And of course he has to have little stick arms. That's my medium point Posca, and then I'm giving that a shadow. I think I'm just about done. Yep, got to write the last part of my little phrase, circle of life, because snowmen are born in the winter and they usually only live for a couple days and then they are gone. So that's the circle of life. Things come, things go. And it's also, of course, a page about circles. So thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. And bye-bye.